Part 43. Jun Lin wanted to worship Yi Yang as his teacher. Holding the design drawings, he swaggered into the Xinghe Palace. Jun Yi still sits behind the desk to handle government affairs. The difference is that the table that used to be full of bamboo slips has now been replaced with books, and Jun Yi is reading a book in his hand. Jun Yi raised his eyes and glanced at Yi Yang, saw several sheets of paper in his hand, and asked, "Has concubine Yi invented something new again?" Although it was a question sentence, Jun Yi said it with great certainty. "Your Majesty, you are so smart, you can guess right." Yi Yang patted Rainbow Fart. "If I ignored you and said that you were going to invent something new, I might have believed your compliment." Jun Yi has also been speechless recently, obviously wanting to keep Yi Yang by his side, so as to increase Yi Yang's respect for him. Grow our emotions. But who knows that Yi Yang stays in the side hall all day and doesn't go anywhere? It is difficult to find excuses to see him. He sometimes suspects that Yi Yang is the emperor, and he is the concubine who has been waiting to copulate all day. The most irritating thing is that Shui Chen actually came to persuade him to soak in the rain and dew. And he didn't even touch Yi Yang's hand until now. Although Jun Yi looked as usual, but for some reason, Yi Yang just felt Jun Yi's hidden resentment. He hurriedly distracted Jun Yi, stepped forward and spread the papers in his hands on the desk in front of Jun Yi. He said with a smile, "Your Majesty, these are the design drawings I drew in the past few days. I drew every part one needed on paper." He pointed to a circular drawing and introduced, "Your Majesty, this is called a water wheel. After it's done, put it in the river and use the flow of the river to push the water wheel to rotate. The water collector on the water wheel will follow the water wheel. The rotation of the water lifts the water to a high place, then tilts down, and flows into the canals along the corresponding pipes. This is convenient for the people to irrigate the fields. This thing is good." Jun Yi praised for a while holding the blueprint. "If the water wheel of the nationwide promotion will benefit many people." Yi Yang pointed to another drawing and introduced, "Your Majesty, this is a curved plow. The ox pulls the curved plow in front, which can help farmers plow the land and greatly reduce the burden of hoeing." Curved plow? Jun Yi has never planted land, and has never seen a curved plow, so he does not know the benefits of a curved plow. It's normal that the emperor doesn't understand. After the nationwide promotion, the people who have used it will definitely praise the goodness of the curved plow. Yi Yang is still very confident. After all, before there were no machines to cultivate the land, the farmers and uncles relied on the curved plow field. "Okay, I'll ask Eunuch Yun to send these drawings to the Ministry of Industry, so that they can quickly build them and distribute them to the states and counties." Jun Yi didn't know what these things were for, but he knew that from Yi Yang's mind, the things that come out are all good things. Yi Yang introduced the remaining agricultural tools and supplies, and finally asked abruptly, "Your Majesty, did the imperial concubine come to find you just now?" "Just talking about golden hemp," Jun Yi replied casually. It was only later that he reacted and asked with a fox face, "Why are you asking this all of a sudden?" You know, Yi Yang never asked about the matter between him and his concubine, and he suddenly asked about this matter with such concern today. This had to arouse his suspicions. "Just ask casually," Yi Yang replied calmly, as if he really just asked casually. Jun Yi obviously didn't believe Yi Yang's words, but he didn't delve into it, but chatted with Yi Yang about other unimportant things. Yi Yang, who finally found an excuse to leave the Xinghe Palace, did not return to the side hall, but went straight to the Shui Chen Palace. He wanted to make sure that Shui Chen would still harm him or not. His arrival did not attract many people's attention. Only the eunuchs in Shui Chen Palace were busy preparing afternoon tea for the two of them. Since it has entered the early winter, the weather is getting colder and colder. Even if he is sitting in the house, Yi Yang still feels very cold. Brother concubine Yi, you look a little cold? Shui Chen held the teacup in both hands and warmed his hands with the warmth of the teacup. Be confident and get rid of the appearance. Yi Yang also held the teacup and used it to warm his hands. Maybe it was because he wore too many down jackets before crossing the road, which made him very unable to stand the coldness of this dynasty. In particular, the clothes of this dynasty did not have cotton, and it was all supported by the thickness of the clothes. He didn't know how to survive this winter. Why doesn't this palace order someone to raise a fire? Shui Chen was about to ask Yuan Shou to come in to make a fire, but Yi Yang quickly stopped him. No need. I can bear it. Since Yi Yang said that Shui Chen also did not bother about this, he asked Yi Yang with a teacup, I don't know what the younger brother of concubine Yi is here today. I just came to see the imperial concubine. After all, I have been so busy recently that I forgot to come in the morning. Please be safe. Yi Yang paid attention to Shui Chen's appearance while drinking tea, and saw that Shui Chen was as usual, with a gentle personality, and did not show any malice towards him. I don't care, it's just that concubine Ling and others are a little dissatisfied. Shui Chen has also been very troubled recently. This concubine Ling is like a mad dog every morning, catching whoever bites whoever, so that every morning's greeting has become a kind of torment. What are they dissatisfied with? Yi Yang didn't trouble them. What was his dissatisfaction? Really comfortable days too much, nothing to find trouble. Recently, because of brother concubine Yi's affairs, the emperor has not come to the harem for a long time, which makes concubine Ling and others dissatisfied. So, this morning, Shui Chen went to see the emperor and persuaded the emperor to soak up the rain and dew. It's just that when he mentioned this, the emperor was a little angry, and he didn't know why he was angry. What's their dissatisfaction? I didn't hold the emperor away. It's really funny. Yi Yang was so depressed. Why did he feel like he was shot while lying down? Brother concubine Yi, if you can, please persuade the emperor. If you monopolize the emperor like this, you will cause trouble sooner or later. Shui Chen has been in the Deep Palace for 10 years and has seen too many people with dark hearts. They can't see that the emperor is only good to one person. So, there will always be some despicable means to frame each other. I'll persuade the emperor later. Yi Yang responded perfunctorily. Where would he dare to go, if he angered the emperor? It would be fun for the overlord to force his bow, so he was determined not to go to death. Seeing Yi Yang's perfunctory response, Shui Chen was very worried that Yi Yang would be arrogant and spoiled. So, he persuaded with a worried look, Brother concubine Yi, it's been almost 5 years since you entered the palace, and you know the darkness in the Deep Palace. I hope brother concubine Yi doesn't push him to a dead end. Seeing that the worry on Shui Chen's face didn't seem fake, Yi Yang felt warm in his heart and replied with a smile. I will pay attention to it, thank the imperial concubine for reminding me. People sit in the house, chatting while drinking tea, and the days are quite pleasant. For some reason, Yi Yang likes chatting with Shui Chen. Maybe it is because of Shui Chen's natural indifferent temperament, or because Shui Chen's 3 views are the same as his, and there is no difference in chatting. The days that followed were very peaceful. Yi Yang, who was so idle, either taught Jin Yuxian to learn chemistry, or taught Jin Yuxian to understand Arabic numerals. At the beginning, Jun Lin didn't take to be interested in this knowledge, because he didn't understand it, until Yi Yang used an alcohol lamp to burn a 7-color flame, which instantly aroused Jun Lin's curiosity. After that, he also tried several small chemistry experiments, which completely raised his interest. After every class, he would go to Yi Yang to learn chemistry's knowledge. Until one day, when he saw Jin Yuxian using vertical calculations, the whole person was shocked. Obviously very complicated calculations, in front of Jin Yuxian. He was like an unwise child and Jin Yuxian was easily calculated. How did you calculate it? Why did it take a while to calculate it? Jun Lin looked at the vertical calculation on Jin Yuxian's notebook and felt that his cognition had been completely refreshed. Vertical calculation. My master taught it. Jin Yuxian looked confused and didn't understand why Jun Lin was so shocked. Isn't it a very simple vertical calculation? Is it necessary to be so shocked? Come on. You're counting. Jun Lin didn't believe in evil, so he asked another difficult question, asking Jin Yuxian to do the math. Jin Yuxian looked at the question, converted the number of this dynasty into Arabic numerals, and then calculated the answer in a vertical format. Jun Lin didn't believe in evil. He calculated the questions he came up with according to the calculation method. It took him 2 minutes to look at the answers in front of him, and he felt that the whole person was not good. Because the answer in front of him is the same as a dime calculated by abacus. But the problem is that I spent so long, but Jin Yuxian only spent a dozen or so little time. He suddenly found that the books he had read for several years were not worth the bookmark he had only studied for more than a month. At this moment, he wanted to worship Yi Yang as his teacher. Yi Yang learned that Jun Lin wanted to worship him as a teacher, and shook his head and refused. But seeing Jun Lin's downcast look, he couldn't bear it. And he promised to teach him vertical calculation, which made Jun Lin smile again. And Yi Yang's Jin Yang Palace was finally repaired under the various overworked pressures of Yi Yang. Once the Jin Yang Palace was repaired, Yi Yang moved back to his Jin Yang Palace without stopping. Looking at the familiar Jin Yang Palace, Yi Yang felt the long-lost intimacy. The golden den and the silver den are not as good as your own dog kennel, it is still better than your own. Yi Yang was lying on his long-lost bed, relaxed. Young master. Xiao Doubting also thinks it's comfortable to live in Jin Yang Palace. Xiao Doubting also felt more comfortable living in Jin Yang Palace. After all, living in the side palace of Xing Chen Palace. He had to pay attention to his words and deeds at all times. You think so too? Yi Yang was lying on the bed, watching the bed curtain swaying slightly with the breeze. His thoughts were pulled back to the scene when he first came. At that time, he learned that he had crossed over to a male concubine. Not a bright future. Fortunately, these worries were unnecessary. And the emperor never forced him, which made him feel a lot more comfortable. In particular, he found that the emperor's character was not as cold and ruthless as the original owner's memory, which changed his attitude towards the emperor a lot. If they lived in the era of the red flag, maybe he and the emperor could still be good friends. The days passed so leisurely. The weather was getting colder and colder, and the sky gradually turned from the fluffy snow at the beginning to the goose feather snow. Yi Yang, who has rarely seen snow, saw the snow covering the entire earth for the first time. He was excited for a long time, and he couldn't even care about the cold. He dragged Xiao Doubting, who was reluctant to go out, to play with a snowman in the front yard. Xiao Doubting was so frozen that his hands and feet were stiff, and even his fair face was flushed red from the cold. Standing beside the big snowman, he rubbed his hands together and asked Yi Yang, "Master, the snowman is ready, can you go back to the room? He is going to freeze to death here." "Go back to what room? Come. Let's have a snowball fight." Yi Yang grabbed a handful of snow, squeezed it into a ball in his hand, and threw it at Xiao Doubting. Seeing this, Xiao Doubting hurriedly avoided it. Just kidding. If this is hit, the temperature of the whole body will definitely drop to a new height. Seeing Xiao Doubting hiding, Yi Yang grabbed another handful of snow, kneaded it into a ball, and threw it at Xiao Doubting. Xiao Doubting dodged again and managed to dodge again. The two of them had such a great time playing. And they didn't even notice Jun Lin and Jin Yuxian, who came to study. Seeing that Yi Yang and the two were having a good playing time, Jin Yuxian also grabbed a handful of snow and kneaded it into a ball to join the snowball fight. Jun Lin looked back and saw that the guards were all outside the door and did not come in. He became a lot more courageous and joined the game of snowball fights. The laughter of several people was heard in the Jin Yang Palace from time to time, causing the eunuchs passing by to stop one after another. How they wish they could be as lucky as Xiao Doubting to meet such a good master. Young master, are you sure you won't go in? Yuan Shou stood behind Shui Chen and asked Shui Chen, who was standing still. Don't go, so as not to damage their elegance. Shui Chen stood under a tree, looked up at the white snow on the top of the tree, and sighed softly. It's better to be young, full of vitality. Young master, you are also very young. Yuan Shou did not like his master's pessimistic attitude. Obviously, Shui Chen is only 26 years old, and he is a young man. Why does he always show the expression of a late age? Shui Chen just smiled, turned and walked towards his palace.